When I was born again 30 years ago, I read a book that said exactly the same thing. It's not humanly possible to obey Torah any more than the Pharisees did. I even preached it for a number of years. And then I read this. And then I got the truth. Matthew 23:3, Jesus said, these are the words in red, that the Pharisees say and do not do. In other words, they got Torah in their mouth, but not in their actions. They've got God on their mouth, but not in their actions. Church Father Irenaeus said exactly the same thing about the Pharisees. Now, he lived in the 2nd century just after the time of the apostles, so he should know what the Pharisees were like. He said they were known for their lip service. They were known for talking the talk and not walking the walk. In his book, Against Heresies, Volume 4, Irenaeus said, and I quote, "They say and they do not do." The Pharisees were known for not obeying Torah. Case in point, according to the Torah, you are to respect, honor, support, and love the widows who are among you. But what did the Pharisees do? Matthew 23:14, Jesus said, these are the words in red, these are the words of our Lord. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses. Does that sound like someone who goes out of their way to obey Torah to you? Matthew 23:23, Jesus said, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have neglected the weightier matters of the law. In other words, the more important commandments of the Torah. Justice, mercy, and faith. By the way, notice that mercy and faith, according to Jesus, is Torah. These you ought to have done without leaving the others undone. Do they sound like people who do everything humanly possible to obey the Torah? The truth of the matter is they don't care about obeying the Torah at all. They don't even lift a finger to obey the Torah, as Jesus said. The only time they obey any part of the Torah is just for a show. And that's exactly what it teaches throughout the Gospels. Verse 28, Jesus said, even so you also outwardly appear righteous to men. But inside you are full of hypocrisy and lawlessness. Anomia, without Torah, against Torah. You don't care about obeying Torah. Verse 29 through to verse 39, Jesus explains that the Pharisees are murderers, guilty of the blood of all the prophets. Does that sound like someone who goes out of their way to obey Torah to you? Does the Torah command you to kill the prophets? This guy has more righteousness than the Pharisees. At least he don't go around devouring widows' houses and killing the prophets. In fact, my neighbor's dog has more righteousness than the Pharisees. Most unbelievers have more righteousness than the Pharisees. If I was right there with Jesus when he said, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven, I would be like, no kidding. If any of you have a hard time exceeding the righteousness of the Pharisees, you've got a problem.